So we need to determine now what will happen when our boss runs out of health and the whole boss battle ends. Well, at the moment, all that we have in our level is we have our little start and jump, and we jump into our boss area, and then there's nowhere for our player to continue. So what we'll need after we beat the boss, we'll need a level exit flag, and we need to be able to have a little ground to run off to the exit like we've done previously. So let's start off just by doing that here. So we're going to drag in a couple of prefab pieces. So we'll drag in our bit of ground here. I'm going to make it so it's a little bit away from the original area here. And we'll drag in another one, and I'll just make sure we move that. Use our moving piece here. And we'll, if I clicked on the right part, there we go. So we'll lock it into position there, and we'll do one more just to put it over to the side here like this. And then we need to drag in our level exit flag, so our interactive bits and level exit, and then we'll pop that on the ground there, and obviously that'll load back to our level select. We're not going to tell it what level to unlock for the moment because it doesn't really matter. We haven't got any more levels in our game right now. But obviously, once you beat a boss, you would probably want to make that unlock the next area. Okay, so we have all these bits now, but we obviously don't want them to be here when we're fighting the boss. So what we're going to do is make these appear once the boss battle is over. So we're going to right click and create an empty here. We don't want it to be a child of level exit. It's gone in as that just because we had level exit highlighted. So we'll put this as, we'll call this, say, the level exit holder, like that. And then what we'll do is drag obviously our level exit into there, but we want to move these other bits in too. So we have our ground 3x7x4 by 3 and 4 there, and the fifth one should be it then. So that should be all three of them. Perfect. So we have them now as a child, and what we're going to do is have them be deactivated by default. And then once we complete our boss battle, then we will set them to be activated. So let's do that within our script now. So we'll go back to our boss script, and we'll go down to here. So we have here where we're taking our damage and stuff like that, and then resetting everything back to be active. So what we'll do is, down here, we'll add a new if check. So if our current health, we're taking it away by 1. So if our current health, then if current health is less than or equal to 0, it shouldn't get to be less than 0. It should just be equal to 0. But it's always good to add that little extra check in. So if that's true, then we want to activate that little level exit holder here. So obviously we need a reference to that. So let's go back up here and add in public game object. We'll just say level exit, and then back down here in our, where we're checking if our health is below 0, we can say level exit dot set active, and then set it to be true like that. And then at the same time we can just, we know that if our health is below 0, then we no longer need to use the boss battle at all. And we don't want it to run any of this code down here to kind of reset anything. So we can just set the whole game object to be we can say game object dot set active and false. So it'll just deactivate the whole object, and our boss battle will no longer be taking place. And that's pretty much all we need to do. So we'll just save this now and go back in here. Obviously we need to hook up our level exit into the slot that we will have just made for it here. Once it finishes compiling, we'll see it. There we go. So we'll pop our level exit in there, and now when we play the game, we should be able to kill the boss and escape our way to victory. So there's our boss guy here. We gotta avoid and wait for a couple of seconds. So we walk over to here, and bam, we kill the boss. Wait again for another few seconds. Wait for our platforms. There we go. Whoop. Avoid, try to avoid getting hit, and jump on the boss there. Watch out for all these guys. Starting to be a bit faster now. Wait for our platforms. Whoop. Jump on him there, and then last time now, we can avoid all this stuff. And And we go over here and jump on top. Oh, jump on top of the boss, and there we go. So there we go. We've defeated the boss. Now we can go on and complete our level, and all just fine. So the main kind of sequence of the boss works absolutely just the way we want it to. But there's a couple of things extra that we want to add to this whole sequence to make it feel a little bit better. And first of all, what we're going to do is add the ability for our camera to freeze into position in the level. So what we're going to do is go to our scripts and go down to our camera controller, because we want to have this open just as a reference for what we're doing. So if we look at our camera controller, we have the target, which by default is set to be the player, and then we have the position that it'll move to and stuff like that, and that's all fine. So what we want to do is, instead of making it follow the player and all this and have it follow the target, so we know that if we have follow target as true, then it's moving to whatever position the player is at. So what we can do is set our follow target to be not true, and then tell it to go to a specific position within the world. So we can do that within our boss script. Obviously we need to be able to make reference to our camera controller, so we will add a private camera controller, not with the brackets, sorry, private camera controller that we'll call the camera. We'll obviously need to find that in our start function here. So the camera is equal to find object of type camera controller. There we go. And so what we'll do is, as soon as our boss active becomes true, we want to set a new position that we want our camera to go towards. So what we'll do here is we'll set the camera dot follow target will be equal to false, so it stops following the player, and we'll also set a new position for the camera, and we'll make it just like we have in the camera controller itself. We'll make it move towards that new position. So where we're using our vector tree.lerp, we'll use that exact same thing here. So what we're going to do is I went to the wrong thing there. So on our boss, what we're going to say is the camera dot transform dot position is equal to vector tree dot lerp. So if we spelled the right thing, lerp, much like we did before in our actual camera controller itself, where we used it to go from its current position to a new target position. So we're going to use a vector tree dot lerp to go from its current position, which is just the camera dot transform dot position, and we want it to go towards a new vector tree, because we're only moving it on the x-axis. So we want to say the new x position will be just the very center of where our boss battle is. So at the moment that's here, a little bit kind of off center, but that's okay. We can kind of adjust that if we need to, but I feel like that should be relatively okay anyway. But we'll say, okay, so we'll use just the current transform dot position dot x. We'll use the camera's current y position, so the camera dot transform dot position dot y, and we'll use the camera's current z position as well. So the camera dot transform dot position dot z, like that. And then actually we need an extra closing bracket there to close the original lerp that we started here. And basically, so now our camera will move into the exact middle position just the way we want it to. So if we save this and go back into the game, oh actually sorry, there's one extra thing missing, of course. Because we're lerping, we need to set how fast we're moving. So we're going from the original position to this new vector tree, and then of course we need how fast it should move. So in our camera controller, we're using the smoothing multiplied by time.delta time, and we might as well use the exact same smoothing for our movement of the camera here, because we don't want it to jerk around crazily. So what we'll say is, okay, the camera dot smoothing, like that, multiplied by time.delta time, like that, and then we have our close bracket and our semicolon at the end. So now if we run back into the game, if we hit play here, what we should get is, as soon as we walk into that zone, the camera will move into the right position and will be frozen in position like that, and then we're free to move around while the boss stands there, and we can do our boss battle a little bit more easy without the camera zooming around all over the place. Because when you're moving around through the level and trying to just progress, it makes sense for the camera to be kind of very active. But when you're in this one little zone and there's a boss in particular for you to fight, it's better to have the camera staying in position here. So what we need to do then, of course, is to reactivate the camera when the boss is finished. So if you scroll down to where we are checking the current health, so when we set our level exit to be true and our game object to be deactivated, before we deactivate the game object, we want to set our camera to be free again. So the camera dot follow target should now be equal to true, like that. So we'll save it, we'll go back in, and now we should see that we're able to complete the level and get on with playing the game the way we want to. So just let that compile and hit our play button up here. And now we'll just quickly go ahead and beat this boss again. So it's not too challenging, but again, it's the kind of first boss of the game. We could make it a lot more challenging by starting off our time between drops. We could immediately drop this to 0.2, say, and suddenly, whoa, we're a lot more of a challenge in the game. Trying to avoid these little things is a lot harder now, as you can see. We need to get a couple more hits on this guy. Whoa, we almost got there. Oh, we're taking damage now. Watch out for... Oh, I'm jumping through, and there. Okay, we got him. Okay, so he's destroyed, and now the camera's back to following us again. Perfect. But the only thing missing now is what happens when our player dies in the middle of a battle. So if we were to just do this as an example now, if we were to start this at the moment, once our boss starts going, if we were to go ahead and just die now, like this, everything's kind of frozen here. The game doesn't know what to do when our character respawns. So what's happening at the moment is our players respawn back there, but the camera's not following them. So we are back alive again over here, but the camera isn't following them, and the enemy is still active in the world, and all this stuff is still going on. So we obviously don't want that to happen when we die. So let's look at a way to control how we're respawning and how the boss gets reset when we respawn.